Today's March 11th, 2024. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life. This is Pro-Life Week. Well, I only have one topic today, the Biden State of the Union address last Thursday. A lot of people thought, oh, Joe's on fire. He's red hot. He hit a grand slam. Gee, the guy is so old and so weak that this was do or die for him. He had to show himself alive and coherent. And in that regard, he probably exceeded expectations and maybe saved himself from being dumped at the convention. So good for him. But it was an angry political speech. The State of the Union is called the State of the Union. It's not the state of the campaign. He's supposed to talk in lofty, positive terms. This is my vision for America. This is the future that I see for our country, that I want to take you into the promised land. It's supposed to be an inspirational talk. We've come out of COVID. We are moving forward. It was not like that. It was very angry and bitter and kind of hateful. He talks about Donald Trump being hateful, and Biden was no exception. He was very he was rough around the edges. Let's put it that way. He was an angry man, an old angry man. Thursday night, but toward the early part of his speech, after he talked about Ukraine and foreign policy, he did talk about abortion. And I looked at the text of his speech that was on his teleprompter, and then I compared that to what he actually said, like in a video of his speech. And they're two different things. So I transcribed what he actually said, not what was actually in the text of his speech. But this is what he actually said. And I'm going to read this. Many of you in this chamber, and my predecessor, at least 13 times, I think, he refers to Trump as my predecessor. And it's not normal, really, for an incumbent president to spend so much time talking about a previous president's job performance. But anyway, many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom. My God, what other freedoms are you planning on taking away? Look, in the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court majority wrote the following. And with all due respect, justices, now I'm going to pause here. When you hear somebody say, and with all due respect, you know darn well the next thing they're going to say is going to trash or stab in the back the people you just said I have due respect for. With all due respect, you dirty scumbag. That's kind of how I felt that he was talking about the Supreme Court. And he kind of looks at them. You have 5 or 6 Supreme Court justices in the front row who are just sitting there with their hands folded on their laps, and they are emotionless. They just sit there like deer in the headlights. They just sit there. They don't clap. They don't cheer. They don't boo. They just sit there emotionless. So they have to take this punishment from Joe Biden. So with all due respect, justices, and now he's quoting from the Dobbs decision, women are not without electoral or political power, unquote. Then Biden continues, you're about to realize just how much power women have. Now there's great applause, and that goes on for about a minute. Clearly, those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2020 and 2022, and we'll win again in 2024. And then there's great fanfare again by by the liberal Democrats in the chamber. If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports a right to choose, I promise you, I will restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again. So, and then they cheered again, the Democrats. But I did see some commentary, and most people said that it's very unusual or very irregular or impolite to openly criticize the Supreme Court to their faces. This country does have three co-equal branches of government. The Supreme Court is not subservient to the executive or legislative branches. All three are co-equal. He doesn't have the right to attack them with all due respect. He has no right to attack them on their decisions. The executive has the option of appointing or selecting replacements if there's a Supreme Court vacancy, and if the Senate approves, the president can pick new court justices. But you really have no say when it comes to attacking a Supreme Court decision. You just don't. But Biden has no problem doing that because that's just who he is. Okay, he talks about the fact that he thinks abortion is going to be a winning issue this November. But, never mind the fact that Americans are spending 20 to 25% more on food, basic food items. Never mind the fact that gas prices are going up again. I mean, good grief, here in Kalamazoo, the prices have gone up like 50 cents in the last 2 weeks. Fentanyl is killing tens of thousands of Americans, primarily young people. And is the fentanyl coming from our northern border, Canada? No, it's coming from the southern border, Mexico, via Chinese labs coming through Mexico. And the border crisis will be the number one issue. It will be the number one issue. And everybody sees it. I mean, yeah, the Democrats may say that the southern border is secure and it's not a big issue, but normal American citizens can see the problem at the southern border, and they know it and they see it, and they see his age and his mental acuity. His cognitive skills are not where they were even when he was vice president under Barack Obama. We all can see it, and people are going to vote accordingly. So Democrats just have to face reality that they have a flawed candidate in Joe Biden. Now, his last comment about, well, if you can send me a Congress, we can pass a law restoring Roe v. Wade and to make it the law of the land again, and I'll sign it. Well, his hope of passing a law to restore Roe v. Wade it's just not going to happen. Even if the Democrats take the House, the Republicans in the Senate will filibuster any kind of a bill like that. And if the Republicans, conversely, if the Republicans were to pass a 15-week limit on abortion, the Democrats in the Senate will filibuster that bill. Most bills in the Senate can only pass with 60 votes, like a supermajority, because of the filibuster. It's just not going to happen. The issue in Dobbs sent the issue back to the states, not at the federal level. I think the issue is going to remain at the state level. Okay, my last comment is that a lot of liberal commentators were complaining about Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's rolling of the eyes on several occasions during the speech. So he's right behind Biden, so you can see Kamala Harris, the vice president, and then next to her is the speaker, and he's rolling his eyes and shaking his head. I know this president is just not telling the truth. Well, they complained, these liberals complained that he was being impolite. You know, how dare he roll his eyes for the president? Well, I remember, and I'm sure you remember, about 3 or 4 years ago when Donald Trump gave the State of the Union address. And at the end of the speech, you know, he has finished his speech. And Nancy Pelosi, who at that time was Speaker of the House, she stands up and she does this. Remember that? Remember when she rips up Donald Trump's speech right in public? Remember that? I tell you, you talk about nerve and gall, ripping up the speech of the President of the United States. I don't care who he is. Mike Johnson did not rip up Joe Biden's speech. But Nancy Pelosi had the nerve and the gall to do that to Donald Trump. That says me a lot about her. And rolling of the eyes is chicken feed compared to ripping up the speech of a sitting president. Well, with that, I'll let you go. I'll see you next time.